Hi, I'm John Nerrell, and welcome to the Mid-Career GPS podcast. If you're feeling stuck in your career and overwhelmed by what steps to take, I can help you. As an executive and career transition coach, I help my clients prepare, position, and promote who they are and what they do to show up and find a job they love or love the job they have. It's time to start building your mid-career GPS. So let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. You got this podcast at a great time today because I am so excited to introduce to you my guest today. And she and I have a really interesting story about how we got connected, how she became not only a client, but a long-term coaching client, but also became a friend. And I am so grateful to have some time to talk today with Jennifer Miller. Jennifer, how are you?
I am fantastic, my friend. How are you today?
I am good. I am good. We were just lamenting about the weather and waiting for things to kind of warm up and get a little bit better here and everything. But Jen, you and I have known each other for a while, and we are going to get into that on this podcast today. But just to get us started and for people to get to know you a little bit, I really wanted them to hear from you. Share with us a little bit about who you are and what you do with everybody.
Okay, thank you. I'm very excited to be here. This is my first podcast officially, so I'm very excited about that. Thank you,
You're
John.
welcome.
So, my name is Jennifer Miller, and I have learned through John that I am categorized as a mid-career professional. And I am loving my position in the world with that. So I work for a very large corporation. I am in their real estate division, and I run the program management office that primarily focuses on mergers and acquisitions. So it's very exciting. I get to deal with a lot of different people, and it's always very interesting. And then on the side, I have this passion for health and wellness. I learned, I've always been kind of focused on that. And I started as a consultant for Arbonne, fell in love with the company and the products, and then really learned to love so much about nutrition and ingredients and what it means to your body. And that encouraged me to go and earn a certificate with the integrative nutrition certification. So I am a health coach now, and I have a little side gig that goes along, and it complements my Arbonne business, and it's great. So that's my passion. I am married. I have no human children, I will say, that are my own. I have two fabulous stepchildren and a granddaughter through that. And I have many nieces and nephews, which I consider them all my babies. But I really am a fur baby mama. I have a 12-year-old blue tick hound, and he owns me, and I'm quite okay with that.
I always love your posts when you're like, Mason went out and did a 5-mile run with me today, and he didn't stop. And I'm like, I'm not doing that.
I'm such a proud mama at his age.
I know. I mean, gosh, that's like 84 to you and me, right? And he's out there doing 5 miles and stuff like that. Jennifer and I often commiserate about our fur babies because she's got a 12-year-old dog that weighs how much?
62-ish pounds.
62 pounds, right? I have a 20-pound cat that does nothing but lay around the house all day and owns us too here at home. So, we often have a good time commiserating about our fur babies and everything like that. They definitely keep us going. That's for sure. Jennifer, you and I connected a little over, really, it's a little over 4 years ago, because I always go back to that defining moment for me and my business when I pulled every single email address I had, every contact I had. At the time, you could actually pull email addresses from people you were connected with on Facebook and LinkedIn, and directly, like it just automatically downloaded. You didn't have to go searching for them. And when I launched my business full time, I sent out this email to everybody and I was like, hey, I just want to make this big announcement. I'm launching my coaching practice full time and I help career professionals create their next advancement opportunity. And pretty quickly after I sent that email, you responded. And I'd love for you to just take us back a little bit and share what that moment was like for you when you got that email and thought, I think I might want to give this coaching thing a try a little bit.
That moment, and that's one of those moments in my life that I remember very clearly, like it was yesterday, because it was truly a moment for me that felt like divine intervention. So I am with my company. It'll be 26 years in August. And I had recently started my journey with Arbonne and consulting, as a consultant for them. And I was feeling a little lost. What's next? Do I stay with this company? Do I go elsewhere? Am I looking to still advance in this world, or am I looking to wind down and really focus on my side hustle? And, my husband had just retired. He retired young because he was in law enforcement. So even though he had 31 years, he was still very young, 54 years old. So I had a little envy watching him and a lot of his friends. And I was like I felt like the little kid stuck on the playground watching all their siblings or their older friends go off into the next phase. So I was really at a crossroads where I did not know what I wanted to do. And I had actually reached out. I can't even tell you, John, how I found these people, but I found coaches online and I had reached out to them to say, give me an understanding of what service you provide and how much it would cost me. And I was grappling with, am I going to spend this money on myself? And I didn't feel it. A couple of them responded, but it was literally that week. And I was laying in bed. And for some reason, I checked my email, which I almost never do, right before I wanted to put my phone down. And there was your email. And I was like, oh my God, the universe is literally speaking to me right now. Here's somebody I know. I had only met you recently through an Arbonne event, but I knew you through my brother.
Yep.
And I would trust him with my life. So I knew, you were credible. And I thought, all right, I'm going to respond to him. And it was a weird feeling because I was like, does he really mean this? Does he really want to hear back from people like me? And I said, I'm just going to respond and say, let's chat. And I really didn't know. I didn't know if you were just going to be like, oh, dear Lord, I don't have time for like a little chick like her. Why is she? But I responded, and I just remember thinking the universe put that email there at the perfect time for me.
Yeah, and it was very much the same thing for me, right? Because to put that email out there and to have somebody respond back and say, hey, I'm curious, I want to talk. But the other piece of it is, and you brought Rich up, and we got to bring him in a little bit here too. So I got to know your brother through bowling. And it was through a mutual friend that I was subbing on their team. It was Terry Wiley, and I got to sub on Terry's team, and I got to know Rich a little bit. And it was really through bowling league with Rich every week that we got to know each other a little bit. And then friendship kind of happened. I mean, as much as I've known you for a little over 4 years, like I've known Rich for maybe another year or two more than that. And yet I often look back and I go, gosh, I feel like I've known you both far longer than what it's been. So if you are familiar with league bowling, or you're familiar with bowling in general, when you stack a team, you put your best bowler in the anchor position. And so we put Rich in the fifth position on a 5-man team because he's clutch.
Shocking.
He's clutch, right? When you need him to throw a shot, he throws a shot and everything like that. So and then the side note to that is, like, as I got to know Rich a little bit more and what he's done, I'll put a link in the show notes because I had interviewed Rich for my podcast last year called Show Up 2020. And we had a great conversation there. But I got to know Rich as this fantastic editor who edited my book and is currently editing my second book. Actually, by the time this drops, hopefully the book is released, but we'll talk about that a little bit more another time. But it's those kind of relationships where you build and you trust and you respect,
Yes.
and things like that just kind of happen. I mean, the fact that you were able to talk to Rich and inquire a little bit and be like, hey, how good is he? Is he legit? Those kind of things. I mean, that certainly helped. But in our coaching relationship, things just really progressed because we clicked, right? We
Agreed.
clicked in terms of you being at that crossroads and figuring out whatever is next. One of the things I've really admired about you and appreciated in the work that we've done is that when it comes to the work that you do, you are very loyal to your organization. You are fully invested. And when we talk about this mid-career journey, there are times when we naturally question whatever is next and whether we stay or whether we go. For you in this mid-career journey, like what was it about for you that was really just honoring that investment and all the time that you've had in this organization to stay and grow in this role as a program manager in what I think is fair enough to say a very stressful and demanding position?
Yeah, so it is very interesting. A lot of people, especially when you start to get to my tenure, people start, you get a lot of the peanut gallery. When are you going to go? How much longer are you going to stay? Why don't you go work for another company? Why don't, and I we also went through, not long after you and I started working together, people progress in their career. Maybe you're not progressing. Other people are retiring, like I said, and I definitely saw that with my husband and a lot of his friends. So I just started questioning, what am I trying to do? Am I really am I going to put in the work to continue to progress, or am I going to coast? Am I, where do I really want to be? And I really do love the organization I work for. Mm-hmm. I love the vision. I have leadership that casts the vision now and that I have a lot of respect for. And I didn't always have that, throughout the first 20 years of my career. I mean, I always respected them. There was nothing wrong with that leadership, but I would never say that they inspired me. My leadership now inspires me. Like, I love the vision that they cast. I love where they want to take us. And there's a few of them that I've built relationships with that I really respect them. I respect their opinion. I trust them. I trust what, I always know whatever I'm getting, I see what I get or get whatever that saying is. And they're just straight shooters. And I said, you know what? Why am I going to go somewhere else? I want to be here. I want to be with them. If I'm going to hustle, I want to hustle with these guys. Like these are my people, right? I want to bring them forward. I don't want to go help bring somebody else forward. These are the guys I want to succeed, and I want to be part of that. And that kind of just took over, that renewed energy of really exploring, do I really care about being here? And I found out I really did.
what makes you a really good program manager?
It's really, I think it's my ability to build relationships at any level in the organization and to build honest relationships. I've had a couple of pretty sensitive projects that were not in a very good place in the last few years. And, I was able to turn them around, and it wasn't because I was able to provide the client with everything they wanted. In fact, both projects ended up pulling the plug because of what I was able to demonstrate to them.
Hmm.
I was able to clearly and concisely lay out the risks versus the rewards for what they were trying to do, how they needed to get there. So not necessarily kill the project, but put more realistic timelines around it. And they trusted me. They knew that I was showing up, I was putting in the work. They knew I was listening to them. I wasn't just being the expert. I listened to what they were trying to achieve, and then I just outlined how they were going to achieve it. And that made them understand it wasn't necessarily realistically laid out originally. And that, from there, we were just able to build a really strong bond where I became an expert for them.
Mhm. And when we started working together, and I'm glad you shared what you did. It's a nice segue in this because the relationship building that you already had in place was pretty strong. You were really good with your clients and the work that you were doing on these projects. And yet one of the things where I can look over the time that we've worked together and really see some significant and powerful growth has not only been in how you have enhanced these relationships, but you have done so because of having more intentional conversations and really honing in on this particular show up strategy that we worked really hard on. And so for you, where has just getting better at having these intentional conversations elevated, enhanced, supported, challenged, like whatever the right word is here, but like how has that basically helped your career and your professional growth and progression by having these intentional conversations?
Yeah. So it's done a 180 for me, I would say, in how I present myself when it comes to my career aspirations and my satisfaction and where I am in my career. So to your point, like my relationship building was always very strong with my clients. It's what carried me very well in a career where I never took, I never took an easy assignment. I was never the person who'd been doing the job. And so, I had the rite of passage to the next assignment. I was jumping into the middle of the ocean most times. When I took my one of my first positions early on with the company, I was in a very male dominated environment of which I had zero experience. And the only way I was ever going to succeed was building relationships. And that's what I did. So I always had that.
Mhm.
But what I didn't have was the ability to translate that into my worth and my career. And a lot of, especially women, and I'm sure men struggle with it too, but obviously, I come from a place of kind of looking at where do women struggle. And a lot of women struggle with that when it comes time to really understanding your worth and talking about your worth. And you expect that your performance is going to speak for itself. And then when you get to a certain level in your career, it's really the relationships have to take over. And I wasn't necessarily making that switch. You know, they knew they could rely on me, but I wasn't making the switch to be able to sit down with somebody, look them in the eye and say, this is what I want. Tell me what I'm not giving you so I can get there, or tell me I'm never going to get there. Let's just put it out there. I need to, and I never did that until you and I started working together and you laid that out, the show up strategies, like you said. And I started doing that. And first you go to safe places. I had some safe conversation, but I say that with kind of air quotes because I picked people that I knew would be honest with me.
Right.
I've had a lot of bosses in my career that just say, you're doing great, keep it up. And I would say, tell me where I need to fix. Everybody has something they can improve upon. Tell me where I'm not strong so I can build on it. And I just never could get the answer. So I went to somebody who was, I would call it, if I was going to get hit, I was going to get hit with friendly fire. Mm-hmm. And then I started to do that more and more. And then I got comfortable being able to say, okay, I know what I bring to the table now. So if you throw something at me, it's not going to knock me off my square. I'm going to be able to take your feedback and I'll do what I need to with it.
I appreciate you sharing all of that, because what we've learned, right? And for anybody that's listening to this, these conversations don't come easily, right? And I love how you walked us through about there were, it was friendly fire, it was a safer conversation and things, because how often did you and I joke where like you would say this to me, or I would share, like, I had a conversation with my coach and just like you, like I wanted to throw up in my mouth. Like it was that
Absolutely.
kind of, right? Like it was that kind of nervousness thing that comes up and you go, am I really going to go ahead and do this?
Right.
And then you get into that and you experience and you realize what comes back, and you process and see how helpful that is, so that the next time when you go to have that conversation, there's a little bit of familiarity there, and it's not as scary, but it is still as powerful in terms of whatever it is regarding the feedback, not necessarily what you want, but really about what you need.
Yes. And I say, I tell people too, the term be fearless is not a term that I endorse. I always say, no, you can be afraid, but walk through the fear.
Yeah.
Don't be there's no such thing as fearless, right? You talk to all these great leaders and you put them on a pedestal. And what do you hear? They walked through the fear. They faced their fear. They're doing it every day. And it's funny because I remember saying that to you after I had the conversation with this one woman, because you convinced me to have a conversation about my professional reputation.
Yes.
And I went to her and it was the first one that I had said, I've hired a career coach. I'm working with a coach and he has convinced me to have a conversation about my professional reputation. I'd really like to have that with you because I trust you. And she said, she was absolutely on board. She came over, she sat down, she looked at me and, her body language was relaxed, but she looked me in the eye and she said, all right, I'm just going to be blunt. When she said those words, I could have jumped up from the table and said, no, take it back. Take it back. I'm good. I'll just live in, ignorance is bliss. Don't worry about me. Mm. But then, John, she went on and everything she said was good.
Yeah.
What she was saying was like her bluntness was, she said, I have nothing. I can't say, Jen, you have to work on your presentation skills. Jen, you don't communicate well with senior executives. Jen, you don't do, I have none of that. But what I can tell you is sometimes it's timing. And we had an honest conversation about what that looks like in your career. And, but what you can also do to try to manage that timing and not just sit back idly and accept that, okay, it's not my time, because that's not the answer either. And I think people mistaken that for that.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good point, right? I mean, it's in having those conversations that really allow us to stretch and to grow. And it is part of where I like to think of it. It's like the blessing and the curse at mid-career, right?
Right.
That you have enough experience under your belt where you can go to someone in your network and have that kind of conversation. But then you also have to be prepared for whatever comes with that, right? Because
Yes.
that feedback is designed to help us all just move forward in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. So I don't want to end this conversation without talking about this other facet of your life and career, and that is all around health and wellness and Arbonne, because ever since I first started talking to you and coaching you, this was always something that was just part of the conversations that came up. So, what is it about health and wellness that is not only just important to you, but it really is a bedrock for your life?
Yeah. So, I watched my father struggle with type 2 diabetes for a lot of my adult life. And, unfortunately, my father, whether it was education or what, it just wasn't managed, So I lost him young. I mean, he wasn't 40, but he was way too young to
Mhm.
to lose him. And that leads to a lot of other things, right? It led to heart issues. And then there's that leads to liver issues, and all the organs start playing. So when when I really saw him, when it became real that I was going to lose him, and then having gone through that loss, I took a long, hard look at what type 2 diabetes is. And I said, okay, I have to change what I can change to try to, own my environment and try to head some of these things off. So it was that personal for me, that I just wanted to try to manage my environment and what I was bringing into my body better than, what I saw him do, and what the education was for him wasn't the same. I was given a gift. We know more, I have more resources. So I started on that journey of really kind of looking into nutrition and understanding it. But I struggled a lot. It's tough. I mean, you get such conflicting information out there. And Arbonne came into my life through they call it's 30 days to healthy living and beyond, right? It's a nutrition program. And a lot of programs are set up this way. And I get that a lot. Well, so what? It's a 30-day program. But what I loved about Arbonne's program is that it was education based. So it wasn't just drink these shakes, you're going to lose weight, isn't life grand? That's not what Arbonne was about. It was about really furthering my education and understanding ingredients. And then not only in understanding ingredients in my food that I was consuming, but then also in the products I was using. And Arbonne is a company that aligns with my values, where they're a certified B corporation. And that means that they put people and purpose above profits always. And I just aligned with their culture and their values. And the more I learned, and then I was able to help other people just in my circle. And when you start getting feedback from people that you gave me my life back, and it's so easy, they make it so easy. The support is there where it's not overwhelming, And when people start telling you that you gave me my life back, I've been suffering for years with pain, chronic pain. And unfortunately, a lot of times our Western medicine is not set up to deal with prevention. They're set up to deal with treating symptoms. And, I know that this is a long answer because, then my mom got diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And there's a lot of Alzheimer's, they refer to it as type 3 diabetes. And it's, there's sometimes it's genetic. It's not always genetic. My mom, we have no family history of it, but a lot of it can be attributed to toxicity in products you're using, both in your food and on your body. So I really have become very passionate about that. I tell people all the time, if you're looking for a quick way to lose 10 pounds because you want to go to a wedding or you want to get your beach body, listen, I'm not saying weight loss won't come with it, but that's not what I do. I talk about what's the state of your health. That's not about a number on a scale or how you look in a bathing suit. We talk about your health and let's figure out how to make that optimal.
It's a powerful conversation because, as you know only too well, health is one of those kind of things that sometimes we really only let the people closest to us in, and sometimes we don't even let them fully in, right?
Right. A lot of people, it almost makes people not sometimes want to talk to you because it's too personal and you're too close to it. I find people that are a little removed from me have an easier time really talking to me about what they're struggling with than people that are closest to me.
Yeah. Yeah, because it does set up that kind of, a friendly stranger in the sense that in a coaching relationship, there's no judgment, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's almost like if you talk to, it's like when you talk to, hopefully you have a relationship with your significant other that you can have these conversations, right? But it's like, that's close to the man in the mirror. And sometimes you don't want to talk about it because you're also then going to have to admit maybe what you're not doing or what, and you're not ready to say that out loud to somebody. And especially to somebody that you think, well, then 3 nights from now, if I want to go out and have pizza and beer with this person, are they going to be looking at me and counting how many slices I'm eating? Or, you know what I mean? That's how people start to think. So they don't want to be uncomfortable in front of you and feel like, I mean, I have some people, I feel like they think they have to account for everything they eat in front of me. I'm like, I don't care if you're eat a cookie. Like that's what, that's why I say like, I'm about wellness, and wellness is not about eating celery and not, I mean, right? I encourage you. Some days you need frosting, John.
Some days you need frosting, right? Yeah. As anytime I do have a guest and I'm jotting down a few notes and things, I'm always thinking like, what am I going to call this episode or whatever? I'm half tempted just to call this one, Just Eat a Cookie.
Yeah, like eat a cookie already.
Like navigate your mid-career and have a cookie, damn it. Like just
yeah, I tell people like, and I've had to tell myself, right? And I think that's why I can do it because I've had this struggle myself where like the reality of it is, what if you really died like tomorrow? Let's say there was some tragic and you die. Is anybody coming to your wake and saying, geez, I really wish they just would have lost that last 10 pounds. Like that's not happening. Yeah. We've got to kind of get over that thinking. And it's a real struggle for people.
Absolutely. And it's you're such a great example though of here's somebody who has the quote unquote corporate job, who is highly successful and driven and continually looking to grow and stretch and develop. And then you have your health and wellness business on the side that you get to put in whatever effort, energy, attention it is that you want, whether you're directly serving clients or you're not. It's that other thing in your life that gives you additional balance and purpose and meaning that really helps you kind of navigate whatever this path is that we're on, and get chance to learn from both in the process.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I really learn a lot about, Arbonne has taught me a lot about myself as a corporate professional. And I'm very fortunate for that. I'll think sometimes it makes me think differently about the kind of leader I want to be and how I want to show up and for people and the company and my leaders. And a lot of that comes from development that I've done through Arbonne.
Yeah. It's been pretty powerful for you, without a doubt. Yeah.
We
I'm
have
so
so much
proud of
fun,
you.
though.
I am so
Thank
proud of
you.
you. Absolutely. Hey, as we wrap up here, so two things. One, if you could give any kind of advice to someone who is trying to navigate where they are at mid-career, what would you tell them?
I would I would really say you have to own it. And I laugh that I say that now because I have to be honest. We have there was an HR person at different parts of my career that every time I heard them say you've got to own your own career, it was like nails on a chalkboard to me because I felt like it was a cop out in a way. But after I've done some work, I get it now. Like whenever I'm faced with a situation, and this doesn't mean I let people off the hook. So again, I want to be clear about that. It's not being a pushover and letting people, off the hook for treating you badly. But when I wasn't getting where I wanted to get, I had to stop and look at myself and say, what am I not doing that doesn't allow them to see my value? It's, there's something, whether I'm not communicating what my aspirations are, but it was looking within that made me realize that I needed to be courageous and have those conversations and get the feedback. But before, I didn't realize that I wasn't allowing that vulnerability, if you will. And it was a lot easier to point fingers. Why am I being overlooked? Why I perform here, that person performs there. Why are they getting it and not me? Or they just like them because they're a yes man. Or, it's very easy to fluff things off. And especially when you get to your career, you start, well, they want young blood, or I get this. Well, they want a woman, or they want, there's some other minority they're looking for. When you find yourself doing that, you're only doing a disservice to yourself to not stop and say, what am I not bringing to the table then? What am I not doing? Because I guarantee whether it's the way you're communicating it or something you're not aware of, but 9 times out of 10, I would say you are the one that holds the key to unlocking that. And it's nobody else's fault.
Yeah. Yeah. Owning it is such absolute great advice. And it's like if we want to be in the talent pool, we get there because we are so clear in our value and our worth and where that is going to help move that organization, move that company in some way, shape, or form because of the skills I bring to the table. And if you want those skills, if this is the right time and you want those skills, that's great. And if you don't want my skill set right now, that's okay too. But in order for me to truly own it, I'm always going to do what's best for me.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, if people want to get in touch with you, they want to follow up with you, connect with you, tell us where they can find you.
So I am on LinkedIn. And I have my website is kind of on pause right now, to be honest, because that was a little overwhelming with everything else I doing. I have two websites. I have an Arbonne website, which I can get you the link for that. But my health coaching website, I had to put on pause, and I'm just kind of doing everything through the Arbonne one in my email, which is jgmiller910@gmail.com.
Okay. I will put all of that in the show notes for everybody so they can follow up and connect. But Jennifer Miller, thanks so much for spending some time with me today and just letting us in a little bit about what navigating your mid-career GPS has been like. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for being such a big part of it. You have been invaluable to me, and I love working with you.
Well, I am honored and grateful.
And we're not done.
We're not done. No, we got another coaching call scheduled.
I'm only getting started.
I'm so proud of you, my friend. Take care. Have a great rest of the day. Everybody, if you want to learn a little bit more about what navigating your mid-career GPS is like, I just want to invite you into my private Facebook group. It is called Your Mid-Career GPS. Jennifer's in there. I'm in there every day. And it is a great opportunity for you to join a group of like-minded people who are just like you, trying to figure out whatever is next and how to get there gracefully and authentically. So until next time, make it a great day. Jennifer, thanks again. And everybody stay safe and be well. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed today's show and don't want to miss an episode, follow on Apple Podcasts or wherever you usually listen. And I'd appreciate it if you would leave a rating and review. Visit johnnarrow.com to download your free copy of the 55-minute Career Transition Jumpstart to help you start building your mid-career GPS. And don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn and follow me on social at John Narrow Coaching. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.